Hello, my name is Matthew, and Steve Donahue and I have our uh, monthly book club, our read along series. And for this week, we're reading Batman Year One, Part 3, which has just an amazing first cover plate. The artwork isn't totally incredible, but it says, "They've got him cornered. They've got him outnumbered. They've got him trapped. They're in trouble." And so uh, we're about 6 months into Batman and Lieutenant Jim Gordon in Gotham City. Batman has now made his appearance in costume. He's been going through the ranks of the criminal underground and criminal organizations. He's been eyeing up the police corruption and making moves. And we've been hearing there's been a spree of Batman sightings. Dozens of instances of crimes have been thwarted. And this all kind of breaks when he finally kind of blows up this mansion that had the police commissioner and high level corrupt authority figures and mob bosses and things like that. And they go, "We're sick of it. We want Batman's head on a platter." Batman threatened them. And Lieutenant Gordon has been a noble figure, recognizing the despair in Gotham City, the crime, and then also the police corruption. And he doesn't really know what to do, but he knows that it's wrong, and he's trying to do right. And the first half of the graphic novel, it all leads up to Gordon is now trying, at the behest of the police commissioner, he's trying to catch the Batman. And they're setting up these phony crime situations. Batman's onto them. Finally, there's a runaway van. The driver has lost consciousness. The van's out of control. Lieutenant Jim Gordon is driving next to it. He's going to jump out of the police unit, and the van is now about to smash into this woman. She's pushing a cart. She's oblivious that there's a large automobile. Batman swoops in, saves the day, saves the woman. They tumble on the road, and Batman is now caught. Lieutenant Gordon's assistant or police colleague, Essen or Sarah, has him at gunpoint, has Batman at gunpoint, and Batman has to escape. He goes down a blind alley and breaks into this abandoned building. And the police force show up. There's helicopters and the SWAT team, and that's the beginning. So they've got him cornered, outnumbered, trapped. Batman is now in this building. He's been injured. He's been shot. How is he going to get out? And the first panel is Batman getting blown up. So the police force, they have a helicopter above, and they just drop a bomb on a building in the middle of Gotham City. So there he is. There's Batman just getting blown up. And of course, this starts making waves. There's live news broadcasts going up, and character that we met in the first issue, Selena Kyle, who's known to be Catwoman, made an appearance at Batman's or Bruce Wayne's first outing when he was just sort of scouting the lay of the land. He was getting the lay of the land, and we see Selena Kyle, and there's been other mentions like Superman has been mentioned once or twice in this as well. But we have Selena Kyle just seeing this mayhem on the news, and we start getting, they bring in this SWAT team, and they blew up this building, and they're finding bodies. They call them winos, but just homeless people or vagrants or squatters or what, but people that were most likely just sleeping. You're finding these dead bodies. So the police force, the SWAT team, is just a bulldozer. They don't really care. They're just blowing things up, and Batman's like in the shadows, like kicking butt. So he'll like grab someone when no one's looking and incapacitate them. They're all getting frightened because there's creaky noises and there's cats running around. You can see like Batman in the shadows. And this goes on. They have him totally surrounded. Batman gets shot again, but for the most part, he's scaring the wits out of everybody and kicking a few butts along the way. And the police force is getting more and more aggressive and flagrant. They're shooting out the windows. There's people outside because it's the building is now surrounded by the police force, but also bystanders, and there's bullets whizzing out of the windows. And there's something in here. So I've seen the Batman movies. I've seen all the Batman movies, I think. But in Batman Begins, there's a scene that's just like this. Somehow Batman's captured in a building, and he has that sonic. He has like a button. He hits like a sonic sound wave button, and then all the bats from the Wayne Manor Bat Cave kind of fly in and make like a big funnel of bats. And I thought it was this really cool scene. Had no idea. Well, when you're watching a movie, a really good movie, you're not really thinking about where all this stuff is coming from. But it was so neat to see that's pulled directly from a comic. I imagine all these movies are just pulling directly from comics, but still, it's really cool when you find those specific examples. And so there's no way Batman's getting out of this thing. It's completely surrounded. The sun is starting to come up. That's one of his rules. He's never out in the daytime. And all these bats come, and it turns into absolute mayhem. They fly into the building. People are getting bitten by these bats. And he manages to escape. He runs out of the building during all of this chaos, and he gets away. Now, I have a question about something, and so I've read this now 3 times, and I'm sure I'm missing something. But during all of this, there was a clothing store next door, and it says the owner of a nearby men's store opened up his shop 4 hours later to find a 3-piece suit missing and payment for it sitting on the register. And I imagine somehow this means that Batman was in there and he stole one of the suits and then repaid it, but I don't see how it fits into the storyline or in the timeline when exactly he did this. He didn't do it when he was in the building. He didn't do it when he escaped the building. Did he go back after he was after he escaped. And this comes up again. It's one of the reasons why Lieutenant Jim Gordon seems to trust Batman, is he uses this as an example of the money sitting on the counter. And then Jim Gordon, it turns out, is cheating on his wife. Or he's having these romantic... he's having a tryst. He's having these romantic inclinations, and he kisses his police colleague, Sarah Essen. And it's not that I think it's a bad part of the story, but I really liked Jim Gordon, and I could have been very happy if he was a flat character that was just kind of a good guy. And I guess this is an example of there's no real heroes and everyone has a dark side. We know that he has a wife that's pregnant, and he cares for them, but there is a lot of animosity that he has towards bringing a child into the world. Maybe he has some latent malice towards his wife for the situation that they're in. We don't get any happy moments between Jim Gordon and his wife, Barbara. But at the very beginning of this run, it was important that he's married, they are going to have a child, and that they're in Gotham City. And I'm just disappointed in Jim Gordon. I think he could have done better. But let's see. Yeah, look, there's Jim Gordon cheating on his wife. Meanwhile, Jim Gordon now has Bruce Wayne as like the prime suspect. Says he just came back into Gotham City. He would have the means to be doing this, and has all these reasons. And when he contacts Wayne Manor and talks to Alfred, he says, well, he's at the Swiss Alps. He's been there for a month. He had a skiing accident. He broke both of his legs and his arm, and he's totally incapacitated. And Jim Gordon has a phone call to Switzerland where he's talking to someone claiming to be Bruce Wayne, just going, yeah, I broke both my legs and my arm. And then Selina Kyle, we now have her, she's in the story, and this is her turning into Catwoman. And we don't really know what her motivation is. She sees Batman. She went down to when the building was blowing up and Batman escapes, and she goes, I have an idea. And then we get her dressed up as Catwoman. We don't really know what she's up to. And just, the issue ends, look at that. This is the night he kissed Barbara. This is the night that he gets home. He was out with this other woman, holding a gun in bed, in his underwear, with his pregnant wife. It's despicable. But it says, he's talking about Batman. He goes, he saved that woman. He saved that cat. He even paid for that suit. I don't understand that suit part. If anyone can explain that to me. The hunk of metal in my hands is heavier than ever. We have those two. And my general impression at this point is this is not an origin story at all. This isn't Batman Year One. My thinking was this is going to be how Batman came to be. And instead, it's so much better than that, much richer than that. And I believe the story does something that I think is very smart. It just takes for granted that Bruce Wayne becomes Batman. He had his parents murdered in front of his eyes. He's Bruce Wayne. He's going to be Batman. That part doesn't really need much explanation. And any explanation that there could be for for um, what the specific trigger was as an adult Bruce Wayne deciding to have a bat cave and having a Batmobile and having a costume, whatever it would just be disappointing. Instead, it's the origin story of Batman's relationship with Gotham City and Lieutenant Jim Gordon. Because we've anyone that knows Batman knows about the bat signal, and Jim Gordon calls him when there's trouble, and it's that relationship. This is it's the origin of a friendship or a professional association. How did Batman and Jim Gordon come to trust one another? And we're still not there yet, so we have the concluding part to read for this upcoming week. But their storylines have been in parallel on a specific timeline. These panels are dated, so it's month by month, day by day, we know what's going on. And we're having intersections. Bruce Wayne and Batman have been intersecting with Jim Gordon throughout this whole thing. And they both know about each other, and they're gonna form an alliance. That's how this thing, I predict, but that's how it has to end. And I just think that's brilliant. It's such a large part of the lore around Gotham City is that Batman has an alliance and Jim Gordon has an alliance. I like that Catwoman makes an appearance, also seemingly for no reason at all, because that's like one of the things that is also a part of Batman's story. The naysayers, the people that don't like Batman in this world, they say, like, without Batman, you wouldn't have the supervillains. So you would never have a Joker, you'd never have the Two-Face, or the Riddler, or the Penguin. And Catwoman, I don't believe is really a villain, but it is kind of nice that she just sort of watches this and goes, well, I'm going to put on an outfit and I'll do, now I'm going to be the Catwoman. And so you could think, like, is that what's going on? There's, people now looking, going like, well, we could be wearing costumes too, and we could have a theme to our villainy. So, still, as far as my impression of everything, still really impressed. It was a great story. This third part, really fast paced. Begins with action, and we have these like folding elements of tension. We have Batman realizing he can't be getting blown up in a building every time that he goes out, so he has to be smarter about this. There's a whole criminal world and the police corruption and all that, like realizing that they didn't kill this guy. Jim Gordon really suspects Bruce Wayne must be Batman, and he might figure that out, but this is also leading up to Jim Gordon wanting Batman on his side. We're not there yet, but it's where the story's kind of going. And the weakest part for me is the Jim Gordon's personal relationship. I was looking forward to seeing, since it was a whole year, and she's already pregnant, so I imagine at some point there was going to be the birth of the baby, and maybe that's going to play a part in the story somehow. The fact that he's cheating on his pregnant wife, I think, not only is just awful, it makes it was a less than satisfying element of the story. I'll say that. So yeah, great fun. I'm looking forward to hearing what Steve has to say about all of this. So let me know what you think. Leave a comment if you would like. Thank you, and take care. Thanks for watching. Bye.